Hi, it's Tammy, NZ Gastric Sleeve. I thought I'd come on here and do a little bit of a recap about my trip away to Egypt and Dubai, and also do a little bit of a clothing, shoes, bags haul as to some of the stuff that I bought when I was over there. So I suppose we'll start for the trip. So those who may not have watched my previous video, my husband's Egyptian, so we were heading over there. We'd always planned on a trip, but we were waiting to find out what the surgeon said as to dates before we planned anything, because we didn't want to plan a trip and then find that my surgery would be postponed because of it, or anything to do with that. So I saw the surgeon on the 27th of February, and he basically said that I wouldn't be able to go to Egypt for 6 months post-op. His major kind of concern was the ability to get enough water in while I was over there in a hot country, especially 6 months from when my op would be summer there, so it would be hotter than anything. So that basically meant that we had to kind of take the trip sooner or have to wait until after the 6 months, which would then be November. That's not good for my husband as far as work and taking time off, so it would have been next year, January, February. So we thought we'd take the opportunity to go when we did. Now, I was really in two minds about that, mainly because I had in my head that we'd take this trip after I'd had the op, so after I'd lost a ton of weight. I was really concerned about going on a long haul flight like that at my current weight. Basically, from when I left Wellington, which is well, not the town I live in, but the closest kind of main area, it was 30 hours before I got to Egypt. So not all of that was flying time, but 118, 19, 23 hours of that was flying time. So I had a 15-hour, a 1-hour flight from Wellington to Auckland, a 4-hour flight from Auckland to Melbourne, a 15-hour flight from Melbourne to Dubai, and then a 3-hour flight from Dubai to Cairo. So it was tough. It probably wasn't as tough as what I was building it up to be. But also in hindsight, I feel happy now that I've got something to compare it to. So after my surgery, I can know what that kind of difference is. So yeah, there's pluses and minuses. I was really worried about my legs. I have got quite bad varicose veins on the outside of my thighs, and so I was quite worried about that. So that was something that kind of worried me. I did have pain in my legs. I did kind of have ongoing pain when I was over there, but it seemed to be all right in the end. Coming back, I had quite a bit of pain in my coccyx, sitting on the long haul part of my flight, and so that was quite painful. So I had to get up pretty much every 15 minutes just to kind of get some pressure off it. So yeah, I won't have that again. So that's quite exciting. So if you haven't watched my previous video, on Tuesday just gone, so 4 days ago, I got a surgery date. It was also my birthday, so it was a fabulous birthday present, and it's quite cool that I'll be able to kind of remember that birthday with that. So basically 4.5 weeks I'm having surgery. So I've got to do 3 weeks of pre-op diet, so I start on the 30th with that. So this Easter weekend is my last kind of hurrah, should I say, with food, and then I will do a week of kind of my being good, diet before going on the Opti fast, just because if I kind of have been binging out since I've been back from Egypt, and I've been hating it, but at the same time, without having a surgery date, it's really difficult to kind of know. I knew it was going to be in the May, possibly June time. I knew it would definitely be before the end of June, but without that date, it just made it a whole lot harder to kind of put a stop to what I was doing. So having that in between week is just really making sure that my body kind of prepares for that. So my trip, I was away for 16 days from New Zealand. I spent 12 of those in Egypt, and 36 hours in Dubai, and then the rest was flying time. For me, it was a huge culture shock. Got flying into Egypt. Actually, even just transiting in Dubai on the way through to Egypt was a big culture shock, because I'd never been outside of New Zealand and Australia. So I'd only ever been in Western countries, English speaking, and just the airport at Dubai was so multicultural. It was like, wow. And then I landed in Egypt, and it wasn't terribly hot, so that it was, as from that point of view, it was a good time of year to go. It was kind of probably the average temperature for most of the time I was there was 23 degrees Celsius, so it was probably what we'd consider a nice spring day, even a cold summer day in New Zealand. So that worked quite well. Culture shock from, my god, the driving, the traffic. It's like bumper cars, seriously. And there was cars that had little foam things on the doors so that they didn't kind of bang. So that was interesting. It was sad to see the country in its state. It's very evident that there hasn't been really a lot of maintenance done since the revolution 4 years ago. So that's a very sad state of affairs. And it could be because my mother-in-law lives in an older part of Cairo, but yeah, just rubbish everywhere, dust everywhere, dirt everywhere. And I expected some of that for Egypt, but the state of it was quite shocking for me. Half-built kind of buildings that have just been left, and then have just from that point just filled up with rubbish. There was just up the street that my mother-in-law lives on, beside one of the major kind of bridges that crosses the Nile, on the sidewalk there was basically like this sinkhole that it had opened up in the sidewalk, and it was just full of rubbish. So that was hard for me to kind of see, and really hard to think of extended family living in that sort of situation. Obviously they're kind of used to it, but yeah, that was quite hard. And because obviously I was staying with locals, I had the local side. I did have the tourist side as well. I did go to the pyramids. I did do a Nile cruise, dinner cruise. I did go to the Cairo Museum, and I went to the Citadel, so that's the Muhammad Ali Mosque and the Military Museum in the old, in an really old fortress style part of Cairo. So they were all very interesting stuff. I will try and put some pictures in to this video. But yeah, so I did the touristy side, and then I saw the local side. From the point of view of the economy, it is shocking. So for us, converting back to New Zealand dollars, it was great. We would go somewhere, and so we'd go out for dinner, four of us, so me, my husband, and his cousin and his wife, £500. Now for us converting that back, that's less than 100 New Zealand dollars, so that's probably what you'd expect to go to a restaurant. But this restaurant wasn't of that quality, what you'd like it was in a nice restaurant. It was kind of like a chain restaurant, like I can't even compare it to anything because we don't have a lot of things in New Zealand that they are around internationally, but it would be kind of more a cafe style chain restaurant than a restaurant. So, but then you compare that to the average monthly wage in Egypt being £2,000-3,000 a month, then that's a week's wages for some people. So that was really hard to kind of deal with. And so yeah, that was really kind of interesting. As far as Egypt's concerned, it is a nice country. The people are lovely. My extended family over there are absolutely lovely, very welcoming. Wherever I went, they tried to feed me and drinks. And so from a point of view of the pre and post kind of surgery, I was glad that I went post-op. I still had to say no to so much stuff. But I think it would be really difficult going there in a post-op kind of world, because you go around the aunties and they'd each want to feed you. And over there it's not uncommon to be big, so yeah, and it's a bit disrespectful to actually say no, but I really had to. The drinks, the kind of fruit juices are so sweet, so I found that really difficult. I like sweet stuff, but not really sweet stuff. Being diabetic, I'm quite sensitive to sweetness, so yeah, I really had to kind of say no. What I might do is I might cut this video in two. So I'm going to stop there as far as the Egypt side of the trip. I will insert some videos in here so you can kind of see some of the pictures of Egypt, and then I'm going to do a second separate video for Dubai with the clothing haul. So I will stop it there and I'll be back.